Welcome in. It is the Friday edition of the program. You have nearly made it to the weekend, and we are going to have some fun with all of you. We got a couple of different guests. Ralph Norman, who is running for Senate in South Carolina, is going to be on with us. David Rutherford also, both of those guests in the third hour. We have reached out to Darline Graham. We have attempted to get her on this program. Open invite if you are listening and you are a part of Darline Graham's team. We're not putting Ralph Norman on to pick a side. His team got back to us immediately when we said, hey, we'd like to have you on to tell us why you're the right choice for South Carolina. Darline Graham's team has not. Again, maybe that's their choice. Maybe they don't want her to talk to us. Buck and I are both very kind. We'll let her talk and make her case to you. We're not trying to sabotage anything, particularly not a Republican primary side, but we're just trying to be fair and let you guys get the best info that you can.
I was just going to say, we want to give her an opportunity to make her case to the voters of South Carolina. We have a lot of South Carolina listeners, and that's it. There's no games, no ambush, no nothing. We do not endorse in primaries, but we also call balls and strikes, and she had a rough debate. So we wanted to give her the opportunity. If she wants to take that opportunity, I promise you, even the most fastidious and mannerly grandma in the audience will think that we are quite polite and quite friendly to her, as of course we would be.
By the way, maybe we're going to have to tee off on this. The lead story right now on CNN, Buck, is that Natalie Harp and the lead story on MSNBC, they have gone all in on trying to rip her to shreds. And I thought, in fact, let's just go here, Buck, because this is, we haven't talked about this story, but it is the number one story right now as we begin our Friday show on MSNBC and CNN. And I do think, by the way, Fox News' lead story is the Lindsay Clancy case is the defense has rested in that case, which we talked about yesterday. But I'm going to tee off here a little bit because I think this is patently unfair. They have a multi-panel discussion that's going on MSNBC about Natalie Harp. It's the lead story of a CNN White House reporter standing outside of the White House citing a Daily Beast article, which we all know how left-wing the Daily Beast is. They wrote one of the nastiest things there's been a lot of nasty things written about me on the internet. I don't think that's going to stun any of you. But I think the Daily Beast probably has written the nastiest article about me that's ever been written. Bulwark is up there. And there are others, but they have a headline, Natalie Harp wrote to Trump, "You're all that matters to me." I'm just going to tell you straight up. I know Natalie. I have known Natalie for years. Natalie told me as soon as Trump got reelected, just so you can hear it straight from me, I think, and I'm paraphrasing her, this is not a direct quote, but I think it's important for you to hear this from me. She said she thinks President Trump has the ability to do incredible things for the country, and she is going to work day and night, not take any time off, and commit her next 4 years of her life to making sure that he can do the best possible job being president of the United States. I think far from being worthy of attack, Buck, she is a young woman who has decided, I am giving 4 years of my life to, in many ways, selflessly follow President Trump and make sure that he can be the most effective leader possible. And there are a bunch of people, we don't name them, that we know, that Buck and I have gotten to know because we've obviously had President Trump a lot on this program. We spent time at the White House, Bedminster, Mar-a-Lago. He is surrounded by a relatively small group of people that are intensely committed to him. And this is where I think it's really unfair, Buck. You know this, but I think it's important for our audience to hear it. And producer Allie can attest to this too. So many politicians have staffs and entourages that are in the dozens. People that do every single thing for them. They don't even open a bottle of water on their own. They don't carry a piece of paper. They don't certainly carry a briefcase. They have aides. It's like when you watch a boxer come into the ring with the whole entourage that surrounds a boxer. Many politicians move like that. They have entire teams. And I'm not talking about Secret Service that are trying to keep people from getting shot. I'm talking about just aides. Trump has almost none of that. Buck, we have interviewed so many people. Producer Allie can attest to this. Trump shows up most of the time with his assistant, Margot. She'll sit down next to him. She'll take videos. She posts a lot of social media stuff. There's almost no handlers that surround Trump and say, you can't ask that. Sir, you can't do this. Trump is unique in that he has a tiny circle of people that actually aid him, meaning that all of them matter much more than the usual senator who has 20 people that are chasing him all over the place, or a governor who does the same. This is, I think, a particularly nasty attack on her for someone who is legitimately just working all hours of the day and night to make sure that President Trump is as effective as possible. Now, if you don't like President Trump, that's fine, right? We live in a democratic republic where people can criticize the president all the time. She is just trying to make him able to do his job. And I think this attack, particularly when we got nothing on Biden aides who were basically running the country, I think it's particularly nasty, Buck, that they have made her one of the focal points of their coverage over the last couple of weeks.
They have trained an audience, meaning CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, go down the list, MS Now. They have trained an audience to have a need, really an addiction to anti-Trump content. And the problem I think they have now, Clay, is in the meantime, until the midterms happen, and we'll see where that goes, because then it might turn into impeachment 3.0. They just have to find something that's not just policy disagreement, but something that goes at Trump is a bad person. The audience needs that. They demand, they have an insatiable desire for Trump derangement syndrome content. And so this is just the latest iteration of that. And if it besmirches, although not, I mean, the people that believe the stuff that they're writing or the innuendos and the insinuations, they hate Trump so much anyway, right? I mean, this really is just everybody who doesn't have Trump derangement syndrome is like, this is gross. Why are they doing this? Everybody with Trump derangement syndrome in these different audiences is going, oh, another reason to think that Trump is so sketchy and we should hate him or whatever. And they're going to laugh at his aide as though that somehow should make them feel better about themselves. It's justified. And to your point, she's doing a very important service for the country for a clearly transformational president. But it's a reminder, whether it's Kavanaugh or it's Trump or, you go down the list, they will try to destroy anybody and say anything about them, and they never feel guilty or bad about it. And that's one of the reasons why I think actually Trump taking legal action against news outlets that lie about him, he's drawn a line in the sand. And, on this one, we'll see how long it takes for them to tire of it. But I agree with you. To me, the people clicking on this story and the fact that CNN has it on the front page right now, et cetera, it just goes to they need to have some story that's Orange Man bad, to go back to Trump 1.0. And this is the latest iteration of that. And it's pathetic, but it's not going to go away. So we just have to move on to other things, Clay.
I do think we have to address it, just because I want you to know that we know her, that we know she sits in the White House helping the president 20 hours a day.
I think you took out the flamethrower to the lies. I think you did top of the show with it, so I think we're good. I think everybody knows how we feel about it. But
yeah, I hate sometimes there is a fair
she feels
analysis.
Like a bystander. She's not out there. She's not Stephen Miller. Yes. She's not with the brass knuckles throwing. Stephen Miller's a big boy. He doesn't need our help with anything in terms of fighting back against the press. Obviously Trump doesn't need it either. She's just trying to help the president, and they're trying to destroy her, and it feels particularly dirty. I agree with you on that. It feels particularly, even for a nasty media.
Let me just put it out there again. Biden couldn't do the job at all. How many of Biden's personal aides have you ever seen the media attack? Just if we're saying, okay, let's call balls and strikes. I'm talking about personal aides, right? I'm not talking about, Walt Nada is a male personal aide of Trump's. They charged him with felonies for moving classified document boxes. Everybody forgets that Trump wasn't the only one charged in the classified documents case. Walt is an awesome dude who is there. He knows every single person. He says, hey, Mr. President, Clay's here. He was great on the show the other night. Like, he's an awesome dude. They tried to put him in prison for moving boxes at Mar-a-Lago.
I don't think I follow these Espionage Act cases pretty closely because I used to have a clearance and I pay attention to who's getting. Is a very easy way to abuse the law and go after your enemies is to be very strict on this for some people and very lax for others, which we've obviously seen. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone even facing scrutiny for never having a clearance personally, never having had their own confidential classified access to the information, but at someone else's request moving the box. This
crazy.
would be like saying, we should, Bolton's in trouble for classified. If he told his secretary, hey, go make a Xerox of this and bring it back into the office, you're not locking her up, too. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work.
But that's what they have done to Trump's aides. They have shined such a microscope on them that they have tried to break them, too. And I just think it's particularly nasty. Whether it's Natalie Harp, whether it's Walt Nada, whether it's Margot Martin, if you are just there trying to be a good helper for the president, they are not political people. I just think it's so significantly nasty what they are doing. And, Buck, the reason they're doing it is because, to your point, Trump is a big boy and can defend himself. And there are a lot of other people in the White House that also do regular public appearances and defend themselves. These are not forward-facing communication people. They're just trying to help the president on a day-to-day basis be more effective as aides and assistants, not as security clearance personnel making policy decision as it pertains to ICE. Anyway, I'm fired up. I just sorry.
I'm gonna tell you, Clay usually takes the fake news in stride. He's ready to roundhouse kick them over this Natalie Harp stuff. He's I can tell you're ticked off.
I will just say this, to me, the mafia pretty much gets it right. Women and children should be outside the line of fire unless they are making themselves, like Hunter Biden wants to make millions of dollars because of his daddy. That's different, right? But you shouldn't come after somebody's kids, particularly when they're young. You shouldn't come after their wife. And you shouldn't come after just people who are working hard to be personal assistants when they aren't. It's just, I think, a sign of how nasty the left is. And by the way, they claim that they want to uplift so many women that male feminist, I have to be careful what I call him, John Ossoff, started all of this. And they claim that they want to uplift women, and then they just go out publicly and attack in the most nasty manner people like this. So anyway, I'm fired up about that. Look, I got to tell you, if you need a lawyer, you just heard me kind of be a lawyer for Natalie Harp and Walt Nada and Margot and everybody else who surrounds the president, bust their ass, working 20 hours a day to try to make sure that he's able to be as effective as a leader as he can be. If you want a lawyer who's effective as they can possibly be, I put together a team. It's called the Clay Travis Law. You go to claytravislaw.com right now. Whatever you need help with, property. Let's say you had a major issue, fire, flood, some sort of damage to your property. Insurance agents, they don't want to pay. You know this. If you've ever gone through it with insurance agents, they dodge everything. I saw 45% of all traffic car accidents now, insurance won't pay anything. You're paying out a ton of money. Insurance agents, well, they're fine paying $1,000 an hour to elite lawyers to tell you you don't deserve coverage. Do you need somebody to fight for you? So Clay Travis Law does. All 50 states, you can get hooked up. You'll be glad that you did it. It's easy. You fill out a form. We tell you whether we have the expertise to be able to handle your case or not. That's claytravislaw.com. You can also call 877-222-4444. Doesn't cost you anything. You're not paying these lawyers. They only get paid if you get paid. All 50 states, 877-222-4444, claytravislaw.com.
Welcome back to Clay and Buck. We have a lot of things we're going to be talking to you about today. I just want to note that our friend David Rutherford will be joining us in the third hour, talking to him about something that a lot of you are probably dealing with right now, which is David Rutherford. We call him Rut, which is also what his name was back in the teams. He's a great fellow and a good friend of ours and a great show. You should go listen to his podcast, I might add. He's doing phenomenal stuff. He's a really talented guy. On top of being like an excellent shot. And, he was a medic, Clay. So if you or I, ever had a boo-boo, he could take care of it. He's very good. He's dealt with, he was a combat medic in, downrange. But he's going to talk to us about a few things, including saying goodbye to one of his adult children for college, but, sending them off to college.
I'm doing it Saturday.
And he's like this, he's just sort of burly, bearded, former operator, and he's got a sensitive side. And I think he's just going to talk about what it's like to send your kid off to college and the thoughts that he has about it. Because Clay, you're doing it.
Saturday.
I'm sure many of you. So those of you who are sending kids off to college, or if your grandkids are going off to college, you could weigh in too. Send us some of your talkbacks and thoughts on all this. Because Clay, I'll tell you, I don't know how many of you have really young kids like I do with Speed, but I already was like, I don't want to say goodbye to Speed for college. I'm already projecting to that point in my life where I'm going to have to wish him well, and I'll see him at Christmas.
I think I don't know, because I'm doing it for the first time tomorrow. My oldest son is going off to college. But I suspect that the one that is really tough is if you have one kid, that's super hard. If you have multiple kids, when the youngest goes off to college, because then you and your wife just are, the house is empty. My house is crazy every day. The amount of, as anybody with kids knows, the amount of obligations, responsibilities, people that are in and out at all hours. And then suddenly you send the youngest off to college, and now they may move back, because a lot of kids are moving back because it's so expensive.
I mean, if I lived in your house and I was a kid, I think I'd move back. I'll be honest with you. The 3 roommates thing might not be too as likely. I
told my wife one of the challenges of having a really nice house is the kids are not going to want to leave. But the older I get, Buck, the more I want to just buy a bunch of land and have a compound and build houses for all my kids so that they live in close proximity to me. I don't know how common that desire is, but I would be very comfortable with my kids living, in homes of their own very close to me.
All right, so the cell phone industry is super competitive. You know that, right? There's advertising all over the place, but there's only one company that's simply the best in class, and that is Pure Talk. They provide the best in-class 5G nationwide cell phone service on America's best network of towers. The same one used by one of the big names that spends all kinds of money, by the way, for stores that you never see anybody in. But they get that same access for the technology, but they bring you the savings. That's why Pure Talk's price is unbeatable. $34.99 for unlimited data, calls, and texts. Recent survey showed Pure Talk blew the competition out of the water, and I mean the big names in the cell phone space. So just for a few more weeks, Pure Talk is offering unlimited data for just $15 a month for your first 3 months. After that, get unlimited data for $34.99 a month. All you have to do to switch to my cell phone company is dial pound 250.
Welcome back in, Clay and Buck. We have got a ton of interesting calls here. And a lot of people with a variety of different perspectives. Let's take some of these calls. It's Friday. And then at the top, at some point I'm going to tee off on this story about the Seattle Times. I know we have a big audience out in Seattle, not allowing a columnist to write a column that just said boys shouldn't be able to compete in girl sports. They refuse to publish it. We're potentially trying to see if we can hire this guy for my new company, Sport and State. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But we've got a ton of people who want to weigh in. Let's start with this, because it's Friday. Let's have some humor. Dan in Rapid City, South Dakota, you said you got a funny story about dropping your kid off at college.
Yeah, we were taking our youngest daughter to North Dakota State for her dropping her off her first year, and my wife sitting in the car, blubbering uncontrollably. Another couple parked next to us leaned over and said, "Hey, dropping off your first child?" Said, "Nope, it's our last." So go Bison.
Thank you, go Bison. I do think, Buck, and again, we'll see. I don't think I'm going to. First of all, my son's not going that far away. I think distance. Go Bison in North Dakota State Bison.
That's their mascot. I'd never heard that before. That's why I was. It's Go Bison.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, very cool mascot up there. Let's see. Greg in Florida. You got another funny take here.
Well, yeah, I've had 3 go off to college now, but I just wanted to say briefly, the only thing worse than a child moving out of the house is one never moving out of the house.
Do you have children still living at the house with you now?
No, I do not. No, I'm an empty nester now, and enjoying every minute of it.
Yeah, well, enjoy every minute of empty nesting. Do you remember back in the day, Buck, the Cosby Show? A running theme on the Cosby Show was, well, got to be careful when you say a running theme on the Cosby Show these days, but a running theme on the actual show that aired on television was Bill Cosby being so excited about his kids moving out of the house so he could finally have his wife back to himself, and the fact that the kids would never leave and they kept bringing their own kids back and everything else. And I think there's probably some dads and moms out there that can react. Okay, still people fired up about this Tuesday Senate primary. Tom in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Tom, what you got for us?
Hey, Buck and Clay, how you guys doing?
Fantastic.
I know I said it backwards, but that's because Buck's my favorite. But we'll get over that.
Hang up on him.
I'll take it where I can get it, buddy. It's all right. Clay's ego can handle it. Go ahead.
All right, continue, Tom.
This morning on the local talk radio show, they interviewed Darline Graham, and I was sitting in my car listening, and I felt embarrassed for her. So I don't know if she would take you guys' show on or what, but it was. I felt embarrassed for her. Not saying she's not a nice person, and she got thrown into a situation where she don't have the know-how or the wits to do it.
Yeah, thank you for the call.
Look,
here's the
thank
deal.
you, sir.
She chose to be in
astute observer. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, she chose to be put in this position. Nobody said, "Hey, you have to." And Buck, she could have just said, "Hey, you know what? This is an incredible honor. I will serve out the remainder of his term and allow others to run." I'm not going to give her a pass when she's interviewing for a job that is one of the most important in all of American politics.
I'm totally with you on this one. I prefer when we have some disagreement, but we got to speak honestly. If the people who have been calling in, as far as I can tell, in defense of Darline Graham, I find all of their argument persuasive enough for her to finish out as the interim, and with Lindsey Graham, and I'm okay with. I don't love it, but I'm okay with that. Giving her 6 more years requires more than I'm related to the guy who used to have the job. I really feel very strongly about that. It is an important job. There are only 100 senators. Sometimes one vote, we talked about Ted Stevens, Clay, one vote is a difference between you being able to keep your health care plan, and I mean all of you, or paying 3 times as much in 10 years for a crappier plan, which is what happened because of that one Ted Stevens vote that they basically stole with a bogus prosecution. So one senator can make a huge amount of difference, and having somebody who, again, it's not even, she doesn't have a great answer on Taiwan or whatever. And this is why I want to have her on the show. She struck me, and she seems like a lovely person, soon to be governor, Marsha Blackburn sounds like a lovely Southern lady when you're talking to her, everything else. She knows her stuff. She'll throw down.
Yep.
She knows the policy. She knows the history. She knows the mechanics in DC and everything else. Now, she's got that Southern charm, which is lovely, but she also has the substance. Darline Graham, clearly charming, lovely lady. A lot of things about her as a person that we admire. But she's got to have that other gear, too. She's got to know some stuff. And that is where I would hope, Clay, she would want to show everybody her stuff. If you had a bad night, you had a bad day, she should be coming on this show and saying, I'm studying up and let me tell you what I do stand for. And let me tell you what I do think. Make the case. Guys, this is politics. This isn't who's going to be the nursery school teacher down the road. I'm sure she'd be amazing at that. This is different.
Yeah, I echo all that. Jamie in Seabrook Island, South Carolina. What you got for us?
Well, gentlemen, one thing that hasn't been discussed about the South Carolina Senate race is how much work the professional staff does for both senators and the House of Representatives. Professional staff is amazingly helpful to anybody that's in either one of those positions. And I believe Lindsey Graham had one of the strongest professional staffs in the Senate. Darline Graham has inherited that staff. And I think certainly they will go a long way to help her get up to speed.
We did have a call like this, and let me just ask you this, Jamie. Joe Biden had a staff that basically did the job of president of the United States. Did that make you happy?
It did not make me happy, but his staff was more loyalist rather than supporting a particular conservative agenda, obviously.
Look. What do you do for a living, Jamie?
I worked for the U.S. government for 35 years.
Okay, so you're retired now?
4 years. Excuse me?
You're retired now?
Yes, I've retired, and I moved from Amherst to South Carolina.
Oh, Buck.
Wait, Amherst, Massachusetts or New York?
In Amherst, Massachusetts. And you know what they said about Amherst? Where reality was just another option.
Oh, that's right. And it's also a nuclear-free zone thanks to the town council, I will have you know. It's also a place where the United Nations flag consistently flew above the American flag, Clay, which is a big no-no. Yeah, crazy stuff.
So, Jamie, my take on this in general would be we don't elect staffs. We elect people to lead staffs. If you, in my opinion, are not good enough at the job that your staff has to lead you, you should not have that position. And I would say that for Democrats or Republicans. Thank you for the call, Jamie. But there's lots of people I disagree with. I think that Elizabeth Warren is wrong on everything. I don't think that her staff is making the decisions that she makes when she is in the United States Senate. We ripped Joe Biden to shreds because his staff was doing all the auto pens. They were making all the decisions for him. We elect leaders. The head of the person you pick as a governor or a senator or a congressman, if they are not smart enough to make the decisions themselves, I'm not saying they're not using the staff to help them be better at the decision making, but what did Harry Truman say? The buck stops here on one side, if I remember correctly. I'm from Missouri on the other side. That's what his desk. So, hey, he's the decider. Harry Truman back in the day. I love it. But he's also reminding himself that he's just a guy from Missouri. Remember back in the day, Buck, they would say that Roman emperors, when they would ride into Rome, there was somebody who would whisper in their ear. I don't know how apocryphal
Memento
it is.
mori, you are mortal. You too will die.
Because in that moment of power that is often transcendent, when you feel like more than a human, as many ultimate rulers have, there was somebody there who was basically letting you know all of this is transitory. You too are going to die one day. And the idea, I think, quite clearly, is to remind people of their mortality and not let the power totally overwhelm their sensibility as humans. I love that metaphor, that idea. So I'm not saying that power isn't, as we all know, power corrupts absolutely, one of the great quotes of all time. But you have to be able to use some of your power yourself if you're a senator. You can't make your chief of staff the decider. And I have seen nothing from Darline Graham that suggests that she is capable of making important decisions that are befitting of someone who is one of the 100 most important elected officials in all of our government.
Also, can someone we're gonna have on the show in the third hour? Like I said, we're gonna have David Rutherford with us, but we're also gonna be joined by the other person
Ralph Norman,
who is running, Ralph Norman, Congressman Ralph Norman. I'm just the people are calling in. Do they think he would do a really bad job? Like, is he not? I've looked a little bit at his. He votes completely red. Okay, so everything that I've seen from him so far is this guy is. He's pro-life. He's pro-gun. I mean, he's what South Carolina. Again, I'm not endorsing him, but he's coming on the show, and his opponent is not. And he's been doing the job of a congressman for a while and is willing to talk to us. Someone, if you know Darline Graham, tell her to come on the show. You all know this about us, okay? You can hold us to this. We would be absolutely. We know she just lost her brother, and her brother's incredibly important to her and in her life as she was to him. And we respect Senator Lindsey Graham's service. I didn't always agree with him, respect his service. If she comes on this show, we will let her talk and be absolute gentlemen to her. We will ask real questions, but we will be gentlemen if she comes on the show. We're not looking to ambush her. And you would hold us to that standard, too. We know all of you. You don't want us to be unkind to a lady who's in the position she is and trying to serve her country. We would never do that. But I do think she should come on the program and talk to us. I think that that's a fair ask.
I also, again, I think you said it. I want to echo this because we haven't said it today. Everyone loses family members. It's awful. Losing a family member does not exist as a basic get-out-of-jail-free card from scrutiny for the rest of your life. And you pointed out that of all the politicians out there, one of the people who did it the most was actually Joe Biden. When he would say, I have my family, my son died. Look at how often when he was pressed on a difficult question, he would rely on the natural empathy and kindness of Americans to constantly bring up, even when he was being questioned about the classified documents, the fact that his son had died.
All the time. He deployed it as a shield whenever it was useful, and then he deployed Hunter's addiction as a shield whenever it was useful. As I pointed out, Joe Biden lied about this repeatedly, publicly, about the circumstances of his wife's death, making the other party at least seem perhaps, to have been very
a stop
culpable.
Sign, if I remember correctly.
And he has said that she was killed by a drunk driver. And just to be clear, there is no evidence for that. That was a lie. But he would say that about his own wife's situation, his deceased wife's situation for maximum sympathy. It was gross. You should not do that. And Joe Biden would do that.
This is one of the nastiest things. He got sworn in his kid's hospital room with them forced to be dressed up in suits while they were still laying in the hospital bed. I do think, Buck, that in a social media age, many people would say this is flat out unacceptable. I think back in the day, the newspaper ran it. Maybe people thought this seems unseemly. But he's been nasty and exploitive of people's emotions in a way that is, I think, even
we do have a new take on this, Clay. Can we get this real quick? Because we got to go. Tom in Wisconsin has kind of a different take on why Darline was the woman for the job. Hit it, Tom. Go ahead.
You guys are wet behind the ears, man. You're debating the wrong thing, period. You know what? She was convinced to run for the full term by Mr. Donald Trump. How does she say no to Donald Trump? Okay? She doesn't want this seat. She doesn't want no part of Washington, D.C. She's trying to screw up her campaign instead of telling Donald Trump no.
Thanks for the call.
That's okay. Sorry, that's actually bad take. Analysis. I thought he was. Yeah, that's a bad take. Thank you for calling.
The better
in.
take I thought he was going to say is she couldn't say no to Trump. If he had dropped it off there, I would say, okay, that's an interesting take.
Correct.
She's trying to intentionally lose because she can't say no to Trump is a crazy
That
take.
is false.
Yeah.
He was, Clay, I saw him twirling in the air. He did the 360, he did the spin, and then on the landing, he slapped his foot, and the knee went out to the side.
There's
a
lot of women out there that have heard their husband say nice things and then blow up the nice things because they couldn't stop talking. If Tom had just ended with his first part of his argument, you and I would have said, hey, you know what, that's a compelling.
If we had cut his mic halfway through, it'd be like, Tom, that was a great point, actually. But we went in a different direction with that one. So there's that. We also have something to talk to you about here. Tunnel to Towers. Born on America's darkest day of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. And in this 25th anniversary of 9/11, we honor heroes like New York City Police Department Detective Eric Kaleha. Detective Kaleha was a Bensonhurst, Brooklyn native. He dreamed of being a police officer, and he joined the NYPD. He worked his way up to detective and answered the call after September 11th, serving at Ground Zero and the months that followed. But in 2022, he was diagnosed with multiple cancers tied to his heroic service. Just 5 months later, he passed away from a 9/11-related illness. Eric is survived by his wife, Marilyn, and his 2 children. To honor his life and service, Tunnel to Towers paid off the mortgage on the Kaleha family home through its Fallen First Responder Home program. Donate $11 a month or amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org. That's T2T.org. Second hour, Clay and Buck kicks off right now. Thanks for being here with us, everybody. Appreciate all of you. And we have a story that just will not stop because the left will not be honest. They are cornered, and instead of just saying, uncle, instead of admitting that they are wrong on this issue, they are wrong on the science, they are wrong on the ethics, they are just wrong. They double down and triple down and get nasty about it. This, of course, has to do with trans men or trans women. It's tough to even keep all this straight. The guys who say they're girls competing against actual girls. That is the underlying, the foundational element of the entire story here. All because of where things stand with the WNBA. I just might note, Clay, you'll notice we don't talk a lot about the professional women's tennis circuit with respect to this, other than to point out that they did the rational and reasonable thing, which is just to say, look, we're going to have a gender test. Men play men, women play women. That is it. Because you would have a flood of number 500 to 1,500 in the world men who would say, yeah, I'll play in the Women's U.S. Open. I'll join. Because remember, Clay, there's a challenger circuit. So you can play one of the lead-in events for I think it's like a wild card, basically. But you can play, and if you win everything in the week before the U.S. Open, which is coming up here soon, then you automatically get a spot. Now, usually you play like the number 1 player in the world in the first round and get absolutely smoked. But point is, Clay, for a shot at $3 million, they understand the implications here. The WNBA, because of politics and because of belief, has decided that they're going to play this game where they hold meetings to decide what a woman is and come back with, it needs more study. Haven't quite figured it out yet. The Women's National Basketball Association cannot answer the question, what is a woman? They will not answer that question. And here is somebody who I think is going to find himself inundated with a lot of very interesting offers in the days ahead from people that think about the world properly. Clay, you were once banned from CNN. Our friend Ryan Gerdusky was banned from CNN as well, and we hired him, I think, the week after he got banned because he made a joke, which was funny, and we realized he's an excellent political analyst. By the way, his podcast on the Clay and Buck Network, It's a Numbers Game, is doing, speaking of numbers, doing phenomenal numbers because he's as good as anybody in the game at analyzing political races, looking at the data, looking at the numbers. So if you want to know all that stuff, he's your guy. But Seattle Times sports columnist Matt Calkins, am I saying that right?
Calkins, I think, is the way probably that would be pronounced, but I don't know for sure. And Buck, I actually, before we play this, I would just add as a layer here, if you're out there and you're wondering, how does this become an issue? That the vast majority of Americans, as you just said, the W in the WNBA stands for woman. We know what the WNBA actually should be. But remember, Ketanji Brown Jackson was when Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, asked her in her Senate confirmation hearing, what is a woman? She said she couldn't answer because she wasn't a biologist. This is left-wing orthodoxy. And if you're wondering, how come there aren't more people pushing back against this? It's because there's a lot of far left-wing gatekeepers, even in the world of sports. This guy wanted to write a column. He's been a columnist for 11 years at the Seattle Times, which I believe is the biggest newspaper in Seattle. He wanted to write a sports column that simply said, Men shouldn't be able to play women's sports, and he wanted to tell it from the perspective of girls in particular. If you remember the story of the girls who got cursed at for wearing XXXY gear at the Seattle WNBA game, the owner cursed them. The owner one of the co-owners had to apologize. He just wanted to write a story about those two girls and take their side. He's an opinion columnist. The job of a sports opinion columnist is to have an opinion, and sometimes everybody's not going to agree with that opinion, and they wouldn't publish his opinion because the two girls weren't important enough and their perspective wasn't important enough to be able to be shared by the Seattle Times. Here he is telling that story, cut 6, I believe.
Their whole contention was, look, we're not anti-trans. We can't make that clear enough. We just think that biological girls should have their own spaces. And that really was the essence of my column. It was, just because you agree with Sophie Cunningham or Annalie or Francis, it doesn't make you transphobic. I think most of our columnists kind of do go a certain way. So, which is, we'll just say kind of the liberal left-wing way. It's frustrating when you don't feel like you can totally do your job because you have to stay away from certain topics.
So they wouldn't publish his piece, and Buck, he wrote a big piece laying out his argument, and he resigned from the Seattle Post as an employee and said he couldn't continue any longer if they wouldn't publish his work.
I would be so fascinated to understand the thought process here of just why it is, or rather how it is that he was blocked here. Meaning, is it just the managing editor that he reports to? Is it above the managing editor?
Question.
Is it, say, the editor-in-chief of the Seattle Times who is worried about getting all these angry letters from non-trans people, I might add, who think that standing up for trans people is the new civil rights crusade? Like, they think they are the new heroes of our era for believing that men should play in women's sports. Or is it purely ideological, or is it cowardice? So hard to know with these things. But, Clay, the problem that I think Matt would run into here is that when he says he's going to make an argument, you all ready for this? When you try to make the argument that women should have their own spaces, the trans support side of this agrees with you. That is the problem. They are not advocating for an end to women's spaces. They are advocating for the inclusion of men who say they are women in those women's spaces because they say that those are actually women. It would be a more consistent, you could understand if they said, you know what, men and women, no difference, everyone should just play. But that would be the end of women's athletics at any high level because of the biological reality. But there would be a consistency there. That's intellectually at least consistent. I think it's horrible, but it's consistent. What they want, Clay, is men's and women's sports, but a women's sports that allows men because those men are actually women. And that is crazy, and that cannot be allowed. We cannot stand for that. We cannot agree to that because, by the way, it also includes then prisons. It includes schools. It includes locker rooms. All women's spaces become de facto two genders while pretending to be one gender. This is where, so I'm not even sure Matt Calkins here understands the full scope of that argument. Maybe he does, but they're not saying, oh no, women can't have their own spaces. They're saying this guy who weighs 200 pounds with a beard is actually a woman. Call him Sally and shut your face.
So we have reached out, and we may be hiring this guy at our new place, Sport and State. We're interviewing him. Doesn't mean 100% we're going to hire him. I don't know what he wants to do in his career going forward. But as you mentioned, Buck, on this program, we immediately hired Ryan Gerdusky after CNN banned him for making a pager joke, which I actually thought was pretty funny in the grand scheme of things. I mean, look, political humor is not exactly known for its knee-slapping uproariousness. Trump is probably the funniest president we've ever had, and I don't think anybody would confuse Trump with a stand-up comedian. But I actually thought that Gerdusky's joke was pretty good. So when I saw this story, about this guy in Seattle. And I know we have a big audience in Seattle, and I give her credit. J.K. Rowling retweeted this, his piece where he laid out the fact that he wasn't allowed to publish his piece, actually got way more read than the piece that he would have written in Seattle if they had just published his piece. And that's a sign that I would say, Buck, of total editorial incompetence, that instead of the Seattle Times having an interesting piece that would have been read by people who happen to consume that product in Seattle, the piece that they deemed not good enough actually got read by hundreds of thousands of more people than it would have if they had just published it.
And now this isn't going to get it the same amount of attention as your admittedly excellent idea of the $10 million for the high school boys team, because that just brings all this together. And that is, I always know when Clay has sort of crossed over into this, like, into the universal because I get random friends of mine that I haven't heard from since high school who are like, I love Clay's thing about the $10 million for the high school team. I'm like, I don't even know what number this is. Like, I was in your math class. I'm like, oh, okay. So that has obviously gotten a lot of people to look at this in a good way. But I think that, you know, you're in a position because of the sports crossover, you should just put out a bounty for anyone to debate this issue of men and women's sports from the sports media. A real debate on this. Will anyone take on, I mean, I would obviously offer to moderate, but I wouldn't be fair or unbiased, so that's not going to work. But we could find an unbiased moderator, and maybe you could even stream it on whatever their platform is, and Sport and State. Is there anyone in the sports media who, with equal time rules and with a moderator to be mutually agreed on, would debate the trans issue with you for 1 hour on air? I think you could put Clay. You could offer somebody $1 million for it. I don't think, we have to sort of say, well, of what level platform, right? It can't be a guy with, 50 followers on Twitter, but it's someone from ESPN, someone from, Pick. I don't know what the sports sites are.
It's a good idea.
I don't think they would do it. I think $1 million bounty from you on this, with some caveats about somebody has to be of a level that you care. I think it would be safe, because no one will do it. They will all claim that they are right. None of them will take this up in a public debate. Not a single one of them. Do you think there's a single ESPN employee? Is there one who would debate you publicly on this issue for an hour, streamed live? I don't think so.
Now, they may fall back on ESPN wouldn't allow it, right? I think you could. This
is what I mean, but who? This is the other thing that drives me insane. I see these people with these big shows, these big sports shows, and no offense, I'm always amazed. They're making like $50 million to be like, oh, like this guy's contract is really big. I thought it should have been smaller, whatever. People love this sports chatter. It's the biggest, it's the men's equivalent of watching like, daytime divorce court or something. But anyway, I see it when I'm at the gym. Will any of those guys debate you? They won't come out in favor of this necessarily, but will any of them debate on this issue?
No,
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will. And by the way, no one is going to actually debate. This is what they do. They don't actually debate in favor of men and women's sports. They say two things. One, it doesn't happen very often. That's when you've won a debate. When immediately the conversation shifts to, well, it doesn't happen that often. Why do you care? The second is they just attack someone like me and say, oh, you're just, you're a transphobe, you're racist, you're sexist, whatever the insult that they actually want to levy against me is, which is their go-to. But again, neither of those things goes to the actual essence of this. Let me hit you with this idea, Buck, as we get ready to go to break. Well, by the way, open phone lines, 800-282-2882. How I think that there is a complete overlapping circle between people who advocate for men and women's sports and the women who are showing up to support Lindsay Clancy at her murder trial. I think that the same exact people that are saying they're real men, and to Buck's point, I mean, they're real women. I think that is the exact same core, that base of liberal white women that are arguing in favor of men and women's sports is the same group that is showing up at Lindsay Clancy, the woman in Massachusetts who murdered all three of her kids, and cheering as they drive her into court every day. Like she is a football team that they're excited to go watch the bus drive in because they're going to be rooting for that team. It's crazy. We will talk about all that and more when we come back, but I want to tell you about our friends at the IFCJ. This is a New Jersey-based organization that has existed for 40 years, and they've got a great goal. It's to bring Christians and Jews together and take care of as many people as they possibly can. I saw the work that they did on the road myself, bomb shelters, protecting schools, protecting the innocent and everyone else inside of hospitals, giving food to people who otherwise can't manage or deal with being able to feed themselves. Synagogues, schools, community centers, all these relationships so strong. You can join me and you can join Buck and the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews to pray for the safety of the Jewish people, for peace in Israel, and for an end to anti-Semitism. Stand with Israel in prayer today by visiting prayifcj.org. That's prayifcj.org. Mike in South Carolina with a good question here. We're going to take a bunch of your calls, by the way. Wanting to ask this. Fire away, Mike.
Hi, Clay. Hi, Buck. Thank you very much. Really enjoy the show. And the question is that, Trump is campaigning for Darline Graham in South Carolina today. So shouldn't we be supporting Darline? Obviously, he thinks it's important enough to do the campaign. So
thank you for the call. I think it's a good question, fair question. I think you can take into account anyone endorsing anyone for any office. I do not believe you should vote for anyone yourself based entirely on the endorsement of someone else. And by the way, that's not a shot at Trump. You shouldn't vote for someone if Buck or I said, we're voting for this person, we think you should too. Yeah. You should do your own research and pick the candidate that you think is best. Otherwise, you're just giving away your judgment to someone else, and judgment on who should be elected is the foundation of the American democratic process.
Yeah, I think you get to make up your own mind with your vote on anyone at any time. It's an endorsement, not a command. Now, to Clay's point, of course, a Trump endorsement carries a lot of weight. I'm here in Florida. Trump endorsed two Republicans for Congress, and they both got smoked. So this happens, folks. This is not a Trump stamp of approval is not a guarantee. But yeah, I understand for a lot of you, you're saying, look, we need Trump to be having the best team he can for the next 2 years. And if he trusts this person, I trust this person. And let me say, I don't know if you can hear Clay. Sorry, Jimmy Speed literally made a break for the studio. He got away from our nanny. Carrie's at an appointment. He got away from the nanny and crawled as fast as he could across the hallway and just made it to the threshold of the studio. He wants his 5 minutes on the radio.
You got to go play with him. And during the commercial break coming up, Buck, my oldest son, who is leaving for college on Saturday, he used to push his cars underneath my office door to get me to come play with him because the car could come underneath.
That's like the cutest thing I've ever heard.
Super cute.
That's really nice. I really like that. All right, we got to talk about something serious here for a second. I want you to be safe in your home and when you're traveling all over the place. Home break-ins happen, they're terrifying. Burglaries happen, and they're terrifying. If you happen to stumble upon them when you're coming home, there's a lot of reason why you want to have tools to defend yourself. I was just on the Sabre site yesterday, actually, getting some new stuff together for our home defense needs here. As you know, I'm a 2A guy. Yeah, I've got a lot of firearms, sure. I've also got a lot of Sabre non-lethal products. Carrie, when she goes for a jog at night sometimes, if she's not in our neighborhood, she wants to have pepper spray with her. Sabre has the best pepper sprays. But the home defense launcher and the home defense launcher bundle, that's a really powerful tool that I think you should have for home purposes. Go to Sabre right now, saberprotect.com, S-A-B-R-E protect.com. You'll save 15% on those select Sabre bundles. Sabre Protect, S-A-B-R.
Welcome back in, Clay and Buck. We are joined now by our good friend, Light 'em Up Linda, fresh off the big Byron Donalds Republican primary win that sets the table for him to be the next governor of Florida. I'm told that you have several things you would like to say, so let's begin with that question. Would you like to say to Buck Sexton?
I just want to say, Buck, I appreciate you, and I am so sorry Byron Donalds won. But you were right.
Why are you angry? Linda. Why are you angry that Byron Donalds won?
Huh?
Why are you angry that Byron Donalds won?
Okay,
she's sad. She's not angry.
So he never did any debates, and he should have. Number one. Number two, you just said that endorsements, people shouldn't vote on endorsements, and I would say that he got a lot of his votes from endorsements because of Trump, and I think Trump should have kept out of it. And here's the thing, and the reason why I wanted Jay Collins is because I felt Jay Collins is more passionate about wanting to be governor of Florida, where Byron Donalds, it's just another stepping stone to the bigger picture, which is eventually the presidency. I don't feel his heart was completely in the governorship, and he was totally going solely on Trump's endorsement. And he should have done debates, and he didn't. And that says a lot
Linda,
about
can I light him up? Can I ask you, though, if Byron does a good job, are you open to now being a fair...
I I hope he does.
Right. So, I'm hoping he does. I'm hoping he does too. And I'll tell you, Linda, I actually think he will. I really do. I sometimes have gotten in trouble for, on occasion here, not necessarily agreeing with a Trump endorsement figure in the past. We've had a few very bad endorsements for Georgia Senate seats, for example, that have cost us now 3 Senate seats, but that were Trump involved or Trump situations. The president's not perfect. Nobody is.
Right.
Like me, Clay. When my wife says, I'm just like, nobody's perfect. But I think Byron, Linda, will do a pretty good job. Do you have anything else for us, by the way, or is that what we got from Light 'em Up for the day?
And I do. I do.
Okay.
And from your mouth to God's ears, Buck. Also, too, you had said that Strong Island is not New Yorkers. Well, I was born in Brooklyn, and I was raised on Strong Island, and I consider myself a full-fledged New Yorker through and
You
through.
mean
Well,
New
hold
York
on. You're definitely.
City-er,
Hold on.
or
Wait. We
you're
got to be.
obviously
Wait.
I'm New York.
You're definitely a New Yorker from Strong Island. I mean, that's just a matter of fact. I was saying New York City people. People say I'm from the city, and they actually mean Long Island or Northern New Jersey or Westchester.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. No. Strong Island is New York, 100%.
People from the city were from New York.
No.
That's
silly.
You can't get any more New Yorker than me.
Oh, no,
let
I
me
know
ask you
that.
this, Linda.
Linda, can I tell you something, a little bit of lore? My father's from Manhasset, so my dad is a Strong Islander. Yeah,
Nice.
look at that.
Strong
Yeah,
Let me
Island.
ask you this. Linda, what
Clay's
do you
got
think
a
of
question. Go
Darline
ahead.
Graham?
Darline Graham, I'm kind of like half on the fence with that. I mean, I get why Trump endorsed her because she's a solid vote for what Trump wants. But on the other side of that sword, she should have done her homework. Because if that was me, I would have done my homework. I would have even, did Chat GPT and gotten my answers. But I do agree. She just can't go in blindly. But I get why Trump is endorsing her. And again, he's endorsing her right before November. But what I didn't like was when he endorsed Byron Donalds 2 years prior to the primaries coming up, which I think he should have waited. And
Let me ask you this. Are you following the Lindsay Clancy murder trial?
A little bit here and there, and I'm with you guys because I know you discussed this the other day. My kids are my world, and I would die first before I would take out my kids. That's if I felt I couldn't live in this world because I had PTSD, I would kill myself before my kids.
I agree 100%. Thank you, Light 'em Up, Linda. I'm sorry that you lost the bet with me about Byron Donalds. We hope that he will be a great governor. Hope you have a
Linda, what's the
fantastic
best
weekend.
steakhouse by you? What's the best steakhouse out by you?
Oh, it's I think it's called Christini's. It's right off of Lee Road, Christini's.
Here's what we're going to do, Linda, because I appreciate you calling in the show and all the things you have done. When I am in the Orlando area, I don't know when that's going to be, but I've got kids. They always want to go to Universal Studios or whatever else. I will reach out because you've been a good caller, and we love having you on. I will take you out for a great steak, even though you were wrong about Byron Donalds.
Okay. Listen, and at the end of the day, I hope Buck is right as far as him doing a great job. I just feel that Jay Collins was more passionate about being the governor of Florida, and I just feel that Byron Donalds is already on his next step to the future of something different.
Again, I think fair assessment or fair position. I would just say, first of all, we have. I mean, I can speak for myself. I hold Jay Collins in very high regard. I think he's an exceptional man, and nothing but respect for him. But I do think that Byron Donalds is going to be a really good governor, and I'm just light him up. We know you won't hold back. Give him a chance. Wait and see. I think you're going to be surprised at how well he settles into this job. Clay, thank you, Linda.
No, I was going to say, I would just say in general, how many people do you think run for governor and have no interest in ever being president of the United States?
Well, it's the only job above governor. So
that's
this
what I'm
is
saying.
the thing.
Most
if
people
you're
don't
really
say, hey, you know what? I've decided I never want to go any rung above where I am right now. I'm just saying most people who get elected governor are ambitious. That's a hard job to get. You have to work really hard for it. I'm not saying they're all going to run for president. Certainly they don't. But I would say if you talk to their 50 governors out there, I bet 45 of them in the back of their mind are thinking, hey, maybe I should run for president someday. It might be 50 out of 50. So, look, if Byron Donalds does a great job, just like Ron DeSantis did, then certainly the governor of Florida is a platform that can certainly propel you into serious contention for president of the United States. All right. Let me go ahead and hit a read here, Buck. Then we'll come back. We got a bunch of calls. We'll get to all those. Final hour of the show coming up here in a little bit. Just FYI, Ralph Norman with us. We've been talking about Ralph Norman versus Darline Graham. Darline Graham, it sounds like, is also going to come on. Ralph is coming on at the top of the next hour. And then our buddy Dave Rutherford, who dropped a kid off at school. He's a big, strong, tough guy. He's in the podcast network, and it broke him. I'm doing it on Saturday. You
literally want Rut in your foxhole. Actually want him in your foxhole with you, but he was sad dropping his kid off.
He would not make it through Love You Forever, the children's book, without crying, Buck. I'm just
we should ask him.
I bet if he's seen it, I bet he was bawling by the end of it. Look, let me tell you something. If you have a home, congratulations, because home values have been increasing significantly. You own a home, particularly if you've owned it for several years, you've likely got tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity inside of that home. But here's the challenge. You can't get to that money very easily. If you live in a house and it costs you $250,000 and now it's worth $750,000, that's $500,000. How do you access that? Maybe that $500,000 could be helpful for a wide variety of things in your life. Could be helping the kids, the grandkids. You might want to do home renovations. There might be any number of things that you're interested in doing because you made a good decision when it came to your home. Perfect 10 Mortgage can help you. They can set up a new mortgage, help you unlock the value in your home so that you can put it to things in your life that you believe you could use the cash for. Wouldn't you like to be able to take advantage of the smart decision you made for your home by taking out some of the value? A lot of people would. And by the way, maybe that money comes out because you want to pay off 20+% credit card debt. Maybe it's you've got a personal loan that you want to wipe out because the debt rate is too high. Go to perfect10mortgage.com. That's Perfect10 Mortgage, Perfect 10 Mortgage, like Nadia Comaneci. These guys agree with you on everything. I told you, they reached out after the men and women sports controversy, and they said, Clay, we got your back on the big bet. Let us know how to sponsor this thing. If you want a mortgage company that agrees with you on all your values, you give them 10 minutes. They can close a mortgage in 10 days. You need to go to Perfect 10 Mortgage. Perfect 10 Mortgage, DBA, network funding, LP, NMLS 2297. Equal housing lender. All borrowers must qualify. Advertisement, not a promise to make a loan. Perfect10mortgage.com. That's Perfect10mortgage.com.
Welcome back in here to Clay and Buck. We're going to dive into your calls and talkbacks in a second, so if you're with us live, please stay. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you can send us questions and thoughts in the live chat. We are live on YouTube as well, so please go check it out. 80,000 babies were brought into the world last year, thanks in large part to the help of Preborn and their amazing clinics. Preborn is a nonprofit that helps pregnant moms who are debating the future of their unborn child. That's a life and death debate with Preborn advocating for life and showing how precious that life is. Because once that Preborn clinic gives mom the ultrasound where she meets the baby in her womb, the chance of a life doubles. It's not just an image on a screen. That's their baby they're meeting for the first time. And Preborn is there to help that mother for up to 2 years after the birth of the baby with all kinds of things, food, diapers, baby clothing, all sorts of things. It's an incredible organization. I'm honored to partner with them. We are here on this show. And please donate if you can. For just $28, you can provide a life-saving ultrasound at a Preborn clinic. You would sponsor an ultrasound for a tiny baby in the womb right now. Using your cell phone, please dial pound 250, say the keyword baby, pound 250, say baby, or you can donate to this website, preborn.com/buck, preborn.com/buck, sponsored by Preborn. Clay, what have we got? Who's next up on the queue? I guess I'll have to call for who's next up on the queue. We're here we go. We have Jurgen. Really? Jurgen in Florida. What's up, Jurgen?
Good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
I just want to echo what the last caller, the lady that was on, which indicated
Light 'em up.
that. Hello.
Yeah. Her name is Light 'em Up. Linda, go ahead.
Hello.
We're here.
Hello,
We
guys.
can hear you. Millions of people
Everyone can hear you
you.
across the country, so just keep talking.
I just want to echo what one of the last callers, a lady that called in, that indicated that Jay Collins was a much better choice to follow Ron DeSantis here in Florida. Byron Donalds strikes everyone as being a Washington kind of guy. He's been playing in Washington, and he's quite comfortable.
Hold on, not everyone. He just won the Republican primary, so we can't say everyone, buddy.
He just won the Republican primary by 25 points.
And I'm a MAGA kind of guy. I really support Trump's agenda, and I'm believing him. But he made a mistake this time around. He should have not endorsed Byron Donalds. Jay Collins was a much better choice. And one of the biggest reasons is the position on property taxes here in Florida. We're on the cusp of maybe being the first state in the union to eliminate homestead property taxes. Jay Collins has been a firm supporter of this. Byron Donalds has
Okay, thank you for the call. The election happened. I appreciate the fact that some people think the wrong decision was made in the election, but I don't know that's very... We looked into this property tax thing. You have looked into it a lot.
Very in detail. And unfortunately, it was not going to happen the way that we were hoping it would happen. And I'm speaking as a Floridian who was aware very much of, I spoke to people in the Florida State House about this in detail, and Ron DeSantis was trying, but it's very, once money is spent by these counties, very hard to get them to tighten their belts. And some counties would be fine without the property tax, like Miami-Dade, because of all the tourism income. But others would not, and they didn't want to make any adjustments. So it ends up being a pretty de minimis plan that they had.
What they were talking about, I think, finally, Buck, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, was the first $250,000 in value would be excluded from property tax. But which, look, I'm not demeaning or deminimizing.
It's a couple $1,000 is the point over the course of a year. It maybe save you $1,500, $2,000, something like that, which is meaningful, but it's not getting rid of property tax for homesteaded properties. That's for sure.
Yes.
Because a house here in Florida, I mean,
what's the average
you can't
home
even
in
buy
Florida
a home
cost now?
I mean, I don't know what the average house is. That's actually a very good question. You can't even buy a freestanding home in Miami city limits now for less than like $1 million. It's crazy how expensive.
Well,
things have
I was
gotten
guessing that many parts of Florida, particularly the big city areas, L.A. I remember this back in the day, Buck. People talk about how much houses cost now. I remember when I first started going to L.A. on a regular basis in 2013. I had bought my house in Nashville, and I was super proud of it. I still love that house. We've moved. I paid $360,000 for it. Brand new house right in downtown Nashville. And I was so proud of it. I still love that house. It's a great place. Lived there for nearly a decade, raised my family there for a long time. And I went to L.A., and I remember them saying, hey, that house sells for $1 million. Remember, I was with a buddy.
Yeah.
And I looked at it. I would not want to live in that house. And that was in 13. Like, $1 million house in L.A. You think most people do, $1 million house, that's going to be incredible. $1 million house in L.A., a lot of you listening to me right now would not want to live in a house that costs $1 million in L.A. That's how expensive housing is there now. And
if you're listening to us in Texas, by the way, you would think that the $1 million house in Los Angeles is like part of like a unhoused persons program. You'd be shocked.
Yeah.
You'd not believe how small the square footage would be. Let's take, by the way, it's about $400,000 is the average statewide in Florida.
And there's still a lot of very
rural
places in Florida, so that factors in too.
But in Miami right now, it's more like $700,000. So that's the average for anybody who's wondering. That's an average house. Peggy from Danbury, Connecticut. She listens on the wonderful WOR. Play this talk back, please.
I enjoy very much listening to J.D. Vance and about his book, about his newborn son, and everything else that he had to say. He has been a blessing as a vice president, so much better than who. Thank you for a good show.
Oh, thank you so much, Peggy. We appreciate it. And yeah, look, JD, I think you guys could tell we really enjoyed talking to JD, and we're glad that he called and gave us some time to chat about a whole bunch of things. And it is really cool. I think it's great to have a vice president presidents have kids usually, but to just have had a baby, I mean, he gets it.
Yeah, Buck, I think not only JD having a baby, Caroline Levitt having a baby, Stephen Miller's wife, Katie, who we've had on this program quite a lot, all of them having children while working in the White House is, I think, really fantastic and an encouraging thing. I remember when you were pregnant, I said it's hard to see a baby and not be optimistic. I think for the nation to see political leaders having children and putting forth the attention is great.
We got a third hour coming up here with Rut, also known as David Rutherford. And we have the other choice on the ballot next week for that Senate seat in South Carolina, Ralph Norman of Congress. He will be with us coming up here in a few minutes. Send us your questions. We'll throw them his way.
Welcome in, hour number 3, Clay and Buck. We are rolling through the Friday edition of the program. Big election happening on Tuesday in South Carolina, a runoff for who will be the Republican nominee as the 2026 election season inches closer and closer. Is Ralph Norman against Darline Graham. That is the final two. A lot of South Carolinians making up their mind, and Ralph Norman joins us now. We appreciate you coming on the show, sir. For people who do not know you, and I would imagine this is one of the biggest challenges that you are facing, as this is an incredibly fast-moving, in the wake of Lindsey Graham's death, process to select the next senator from South Carolina. How would you want them to come to know you? Describe yourself for us, because frankly, Buck and I also don't know you.
Yeah, Clay, great to be on your show with you and Buck. I'm from Rock Hill, South Carolina. I was a real estate developer for 40 plus years. I married to one woman for 51 years, 4 children, 17 grandchildren. I decided to get into Congress after my children were grown, and best decision I have made. I served briefly in the State House in South Carolina, and then went to the in a special election 2017. Have served in Congress since then, and it's been a good ride. And I'm a conservative Freedom Caucus member. My record is my resume, and I look forward to serving in the Senate, which is, as you and Buck knows, is where good bills go to die.
Congressman Norman, appreciate you being with us. And you got 2 non-South Carolinians who happen to be big admirers or fans of your state. Take any opportunity to go there. And so we have a lot of South Carolina listeners right now. What have been your top priorities as a member of Congress? And if you make it to the Senate, how are the ways that you would, there's 100 of you guys in the Senate, if you were to get there, how would you want to make your mark, and where would you stand vis-a-vis the Trump agenda? I know that's a lot, but take it as you can.
Well, first of all, Buck, my what we're battling in this country are socialists and communist Democrats. That's it. That's the burden that I'm sure the president feels and I feel in Congress. Now, the cancer in this country is overspending. The 40 trillion that we were notified of 2 days ago is really a lot more than that. When you put the Social Security, when you put the Highway Trust Fund, when you put Medicaid, Medicare, this country is at a tipping point that we have to face. That being said, when I get to the Senate, it's just a body is dysfunctional. It's, as I mentioned, where good bills go to die. The SAVE Act has got to be passed. And if it means nuking the filibuster, you do that. If it means trying to walk in filibuster, you do that. If it means changing the parliamentarians' rulings on different things, we get this passed. So if I had to tell you one agenda, it's the SAVE Act, to get it through a chamber that has not only blocked that, but blocked many other things that we voted on in Congress. It's not good enough to say we just don't have the votes. I mean, the reason people are frustrated, we've got a 53 to 47 majority of Republicans over Democrats in the Senate. We got a slim majority in the House, but we control the executive branch. And I think the public has every right to be frustrated. And I'm frustrated with the Senate when it unfortunately came up with the death of Lindsey. I knew I could add value there. What you see is what you get with me. I will not rest until we get on a path of conservatism for our national security, which debt is. It's a tremendous train coming down the track. So that's just a few of them. The America First agenda with President Trump will come later with his overall of peace through strength and energy security and energy production and so many other things. But we've got the SAVE Act that I think is imperative that we get past now.
We're talking to Congressman Ralph Norman. He is running for the Senate in South Carolina. Tuesday is the runoff election for that Republican nomination. Why are you a better choice than Darline Graham for South Carolinians?
Hey, Darline Graham's unknown. My record is my resume. I mean, I've by any agency, well, I say agency, Heritage Foundation, Club for Growth, Turning Point USA, any agency that rates me over my 8 years, I've got an A+ and greater. But I will exercise that to make sure that we get the priorities back in place. My opponent is backed by the totally left-wing groups, PAC dollars, that funds MoveOn.org, that funded Kamala Harris. It's everything that we are against. And again, the socialist agenda that her PAC support is what's backing my opponent. And she's outspending me 5-1. I will tell you, my ads tell you what we're going to do. If you look at my record, you know how I'm going to vote. And I've got the courage to bring it up. And Mike Lee, Rick Scott, who have endorsed me, others, we will take the banner of conservatism and do what we can in the Senate, whatever it takes. And I look forward to being that voice. She has simply not shown where she will do that by the backing that she's getting. The people in South Carolina are the ones that have contributed to my campaign along with my own money. And so I don't owe the Washington Swamp anything. They're on her side. And we cannot continue the path that Washington is totally broken. In any measurement, it's totally broken. And I'll aim to have some value there.
Congressman Norman, appreciate you again being with us here. And I do think it's important to reiterate a little bit of what you said about there is a Democrat in this race. And, you know, we're at a time right now, I mean, meaning a Democrat would oppose whoever wins this upcoming primary between you and Darline Graham. And we are at a time where we have seen, for example, polls very recently showing what we would think is a very weak Democrat in Texas running against Attorney General Paxton, who is a friend of the show. We have seen polls showing a much tighter race in Michigan for a Senate seat than one might have anticipated. I mean, there's some certainly tight contests that are going to be happening here. Is it your contention that we would be putting a Senate seat at risk if the people of South Carolina put Darline Graham forward against this Democrat?
You know, Buck, there's no on-the-job training here. I mean, yes, it will be tough for her to go debate a Dr. Annie Andrews, they're salivating. The Democrat Party is salivating taking this seat. Lindsey had been there a long time. His incumbency, he had a base. And so I can, it's the fact that the Democrats putting so much money against me because they want her. They want Darline Graham to be the
So what you're saying is
Democrats
are funded. Democrats, and they're not the only ones, of course. Trump has endorsed Darline Graham, to just be clear and factual. But you're saying that there's Democrat money pouring in to help Darline Graham? Is that right?
To the tune of $3 to $5 billion. Her PAC money, Buck, she's only put 90,000 of, I guess, her money in. With me, I put all of the 3, 4, 5 million that we've had to spend to combat the 5-1 odds that they have from totally socialistic groups that back candidates like Kamala Harris. And it's well known. If you look up their PACs, It's what's totally against the values of South Carolina, and they want Darline Graham and that's why they're behind her. They want her to be the nominee. They know she won't run a successful campaign, much less debate the many debates that should be had when this election's over on the 25th.
We're talking to Ralph Norman. He's running for Congress. Let me just in Congress, he's running for the Senate. Let me ask you that because Buck just mentioned that President Trump has endorsed Darline Graham. Why do you think he did that? And we had callers come in and say, hey, if President Trump wants Darline Graham, then maybe because I voted for Trump, I should vote for her too. How would you respond to that argument?
Well, my response is I've got the highest rating of supporting Donald Trump of our whole delegation in South Carolina. And the people in South Carolina are going to pick the next senator. Now, I would have loved to have the endorsement of President Trump, but I didn't. But that's fine. What President Trump has done for this country has been monumental. I will always support him and his ideas. And he saved this country from total ruin if Kamala Harris had gone in instead of him. But that being said, the people are going to pick who they want, and we're battling what is a little different is coming into South Carolina when there's so many problems in other states. I mean, I'm a conservative with my record, and I'm proud of the resume that I have. And Darlene's just an unknown candidate, but she's backed by groups that don't represent this state.
Where should people of your state, Congressman Norman, go to either learn more about you, get involved, help, whatever they choose to do?
It's RalphNormanForSenate.com.
Sir,
thank you, sir.
Appreciate you being with us. Thank you for making the time and joining us here on the program. And good luck to you next week.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Clay, just to be very clear, everybody, we have an ask out officially for Darline Graham, current sitting Senator Darline Graham, to come join us. We are hopeful that she will before that primary happens, and we will give her an absolutely fair and honest platform to make her case to the people of South Carolina. So just we'll keep an eye out for that. Roof installers have a tough job. It's all weather, all season work that takes a toll. If you're good at it, like our friends at Erie Home, it's gratifying, particularly the before and after pictures. Excellent roofers like the ones that Erie Home has, they create a product that lasts for decades. So it's really worth it to do it right. This company's been around for 50 years. Erie Home will inspect your roof. Any problems, they'll inspect it free of charge using a 25-point inspection plan that they've developed themselves. If your roof needs replacement, Erie Home has so many options. They even have these newer materials that are made to mimic the look of your current roof, but higher tech, so they last longer, they're more durable. So whether you've got dimensional shingles, wood shake, or barrel tiles, your new roof will look great and last up to 2 to 3 times longer than traditional shingle roofs with proper care and maintenance. Your new roof from Erie Home also comes with a 50-year transferable warranty. So if you sell your home, you're providing even more value in that sales process. Schedule your free inspection at eriehome.com/buck today and get a discount on the installation price. That's eriehome.com/buck. Discount is maximized at $1,200. Valid on new roofing installation. Only minimum purchase required. Restrictions apply. See rep for warranty or promotional details. Welcome back in here to Clay and Buck. Before we get to your calls, and we'll take some live calls here and some talkbacks, just know we've got our friend David Rutherford will be with us next. Former Navy SEAL, all-around badass, great American, but he probably got a little misty-eyed when he was saying goodbye to his oldest, dropping her off for college. So we'll talk to him about that and also some other things in the news and everything else. But Clay, Clay just disappeared for a second from the show, and there's only a few things that would cause Clay during the show to disappear. Maybe something crazy happening to the Tennessee Vols, or short of that, what was it that just happened?
I ducked out. For people who were watching on the video, I gave you a hand signal. You were doing a read, and we were finishing off last hour. President Trump wanted to call. So you get a call from the White House. He called. He said he appreciates all the good work that we're doing, helping to bring sanity to the masses. I'm not going to directly quote him. It's just a phone call. Obviously, President Trump's a big fan of Rush, and he just wanted to say, hey, you guys are doing a great job. that he's headed down to South Carolina shortly to be at the rally for Darline Graham. And he also wanted to talk. He saw, I do a show on FS1. He wanted to talk about sports team valuations because he considered buying the Buffalo Bills back in the day, and I did a big breakdown recently on skyrocketing sports team valuations and what it meant. And he said, I didn't know you knew so much about sports, too. So that is, we had a good call. But I do think, look, what I would say in general about this, and Buck, I know you will echo this, Trump is really, really good at just being a normal guy and a normal human. And I think for someone who has been as famous for as long as President Trump has been famous, sometimes politicians aren't great at actual normal human interactions. And I think President Trump is great at that. And if you're in a small setting with him, certainly that's what I think your wife, Carrie, and my wife, Laura, who have had the good fortune to meet him a few times, would say is he's just really good at normal human interaction, which, frankly, a lot of politicians are not. So anyway, it was nice for him to give us a call. I'm sure we'll get him on again sometime soon. We had JD on yesterday. But it was good to get that call. By the way, President just got some good news. Trump can continue building the ballroom for now. The Supreme Court, I mean, I know what you're going to say already, but say it.
You want him to have an unfinished ballroom, you lunatic libs? That's really, you think, the best? You want this to just be a construction site for the next 2 years that's not finished? It's very clear. Whoever the next president is will get to use this. It will be for the White House. It will be a very useful space. I'm sure it will look quite lovely. If they want to change some of the interior decor, Clay, they can. They're just stopping him to stop him. It's just spite. It's just madness with these people. He tries to do the most basic, nice thing. Trump is like, hey, everybody, what if we just, I don't know, we give everybody like a Hershey's kiss when they walk in the front door of the White House. They're like, he doesn't have the authority. It's like, guys, come on. Crazy.
Yeah, look, I just think in general, all of this is, you can be opposed to the president for anything under the sun, right? That's the great thing about living in the country that we do, unlike a lot of other countries where you get dragged out into the streets and executed in Iran if you say anything negative, for instance. Cuba, you get thrown in prison for the rest of your life. He's building a ballroom that he will barely ever get to use.
I know.
And everyone will be safer who is the president, both Democrat, Republican, or party that we can't even think of, for the rest of everybody's life listening here when they are inside of the building.
Clay, very important. We have Stan in Spokane. He has had over 25 Subarus, the king of Subarus, you could say. Stan, you wanted to tell us about this.
Yeah, hey, I just listened the other day. I tried to get through, but, Subarus just aren't lesbian mobiles. The Outback and the Forester. They've got turbocharged models. They've got the Impreza that steps up to a WRX.
Okay,
or
this
STI.
is great. Sorry to cut you off on all the Subaru makes. How big is your family if you have owned 25 Subarus?
Oh, I'm 70, man. I've got 4 kids, and we've gone through them. My son used to rally race, so we stage rally, and so we were constantly getting new Subarus because he would wreck them. Before he was 14, he rolled 4 85 DLs. So they're just a great car. On this side of the state, not the wacko side, they're a great car. They're a great grandmother car you only need a 10 millimeter, a 12, a 14, and a 17, and you could take one apart and put it back together. They get 30 miles to the gallon. If you want performance, get a turbocharged one. But
all right. Hey, thank you. By the way, everyone agrees with him, Clay, who has them. They are great cars.
Again,
Lesbians love them,
Subaru
too.
could do the funniest thing on the planet and become the official car of Clay and Buck. Just saying, it would be an incredible move, marketing genius for them. And if you're out there like I am, I got a small business that I'm running. If you are running a small business, as I know many of you do out there in this audience, insurance can drive you crazy. Do you have enough? Do you have the right insurance? My newest one, Sport and State, I'm trying to make sure that we have everything covered. If your company has more than 25 employees, whether you're the owner, CFO, HR manager, you need to go to Supersure and make sure you're covered and also save a bundle in the process. Supersure.com/Clay. That's supersure.com/Clay. We are joined, welcome back in, by our friend David Rutherford, part of the Clay and Buck Podcast Network. He is what is the official title that you would give for yourself based on your service? You would have been Special Forces. Like, what is your official title?
I get this question all the time. First off, hi guys, great to see you. You guys are cracking me up all week. Been on fire lately, so thanks for having me on Friday.
Thank you.
I introduced former Navy SEAL, CIA contractor, and world championship performance coach. That's kind of how I.
All right, let me ask you a question. Have you ever killed a man?
No.
Whoa.
Not that I'm aware of.
That's an intense question.
But I've never seen a round hit anybody that I shot.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is because you are a pretty tough guy. I wanted the introduction of what you had done in the past. I was thinking maybe you had killed a man and that now you're unable to drop your kid off at college without crying, which is a great great pivot point here. But I want you to tell me, because tomorrow I am dropping off my firstborn son at a college campus. We still have 2 more at home, but this will be the first time that I have gone to drop a kid off at school. I don't know how many times you've done it. I know you've done it at least once. What was the experience?
It was awesome, Clay. I mean, it was just last week. We dropped my oldest daughter up at, she goes Penn State Harrisburg, where she's playing soccer up there. And for us, it was like this really aggressive. All right, we drove 12 hours. We got to North Carolina, stayed up our friends. They have little kids. That was madness. Woke up early, drove the next 7 hours. We got to Harrisburg at 3, unloaded the car, set up, run to the Target store, do a $1,000 purchase there, then, run to dinner, last dinner together, steak, little, sentimental topics, drop her off. We leave by 11, show up at 8 in the morning. She drives us to the airport, hugs, kisses, cries, and that was it. For me, it didn't hit me until I got home and I read the letter that she had given me when we left. And that's where, because I'm just trying to just grind and get through it, get her mom through it, get me through it. But man, it was when I read this beautiful letter that she sent me that really tore me up.
Rut, you remember when they were really, really, really little, your kids? We're going to get a little sentimental here. What were your kids' favorite children's books? And have you ever tried to sit with your, I bet if you did it, Clay, I bet if you did it with his adult kids now, he'd get a little misty-eyed. Clay just put me up to reading to my little boy this book, Love You Forever. Are you familiar with this? It's a children's book. Do you know this one? Did your kids have a favorite one? This one, when he's holding his elderly mother like a baby, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Dude, I mean, I'm a classics guy. So The Giving Tree, I read the hell out of that. I love Shel Silverstein. There was a book, Hats for Sale, right, where the guy stacks all his hats, and I would do it in this cool voice. And I actually went into the girls' classrooms a couple times and read that to the class. I think those books are really a pivotal moment, because in that moment, there's a sense of this very intense father figure, and that's what you're hoping for. And obviously, during the teenage years, it shifts dramatically. But I think in the pivotal moment of them going off, I know for me, it's like all that's going through my head is, did I teach them enough? Do they know them? I love her enough. Is she prepared to face the pain of what is in front of her on her own, and still knowing we're proud of her no matter what happens?
Can you believe you just said you took your daughter and she's playing soccer? Is that what you said at Penn State Harrisburg?
Yep.
So you've got I want you to just kind of talk for people out there who may not know what the current youth sports world is like. I'm just going to guess. I bet you and your wife have driven your daughter, starting at a really young age, to hundreds, if not thousands of soccer games based on what I know from the soccer club sport era. If she's good enough to play in college, she had to be playing all the time. Can you believe that the Democrat Party's perspective is men, like in other words, a guy who spent his whole life being a guy can just decide to show up and knock a girl off the girls' soccer team in theory that your daughter is playing on at all these different levels? I really can't comprehend it. But for somebody who's got a daughter that I guarantee you and your family have sacrificed in terms of getting her there, the amount of work, effort, and intensity that's required to be a college-level athlete, just tee off.
It's absolutely insanity. Everything about it is insanity. Your recent stuff you're doing with the WNBA and often the $10 million now for the 8th grade group. And the video you posted the other day of the 8th graders doing reverse Jordan dunks. I was like, this is it. This is it. And, I had Royce White on the show last year, and now he's, wearing the wig and he's going, my kids always kind of, cause they went to a private school, and, we would always hear about, that trans kids playing or whatever. And I always told my daughter, I said, if I walk out there and I see a boy on the field, I'm going to walk out and pull you off in front of everybody. They're like, no, right. And the reality is all you got to talk about is bone density, speed, power, and those impacts and what they might look like are devastating, right? We saw it in the Olympics a couple of years ago with the fighter from the Middle East who was just knocking the hell out of these women that were in the thing. It's just, it's so illogical that it really begins to, just drive people crazy. And I think that's what's happening. And that's the whole thing with the Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark thing. It just doesn't make any sense, and people are over it. And unfortunately now it's going to become, a lot more volatile, I believe.
Talking to David Rutherford, a.k.a. Rut. His show is the David Rutherford Show, which you all should go check out on the Clay and Buck Network. A lot of you obviously are, because he's doing tons and tons of downloads and listens and views every month, which we're very pleased about. Have you seen the trailer for this movie, Heart of the Beast, Dave, by any chance? Have you checked this thing out? I mean, I'm generally a Brad Pitt guy. I don't go to the movies very often. Clay always makes fun of me, but he's correct. I find people too annoying in movie theaters, so I usually wait till but you got a movie, Brad Pitt with it's his combat canine. He's got a prosthetic legs. The dog, not the human, the dog was wounded in combat with his prosthetic leg. And they're out in the woods in Alaska. It's like man and dog survival of the fittest against the bears and the wolves and all this stuff, whatever. I'm actually psyched to see this movie. We're going to talk about it later when it comes out. But I was wondering if you could just give us a sense. These dogs, like the dogs that you guys had in the teams, I know you weren't a canine handler, but obviously on your team you had canine handlers. Give people a sense of like how incredibly trained and useful and effective SEAL canines are.
They're a whole nother level. In fact, I was trying to think of first off, let me just back up. We talk about getting emotional. Like that trailer got me, I think, more emotional than my daughter going off to college, man, because it's like, first off, I was like, oh my God, there hasn't been an awesome heartfelt dog movie in forever. And then Brad Pitt is an SF dude with this beautiful dog.
Rut, I cried like a baby at Turner and Hooch, like a baby. That movie, anyway. You know what I'm talking about,
dude. I'm a dog guy. I love dogs. Greatest dog I ever had was a Rhodesian Ridgeback Zulu. But this movie is indicative of that relationship. And I have several friends that were dog handlers, and they all say to the man, the best operator they ever worked with was their dog. And I just think this story is really going to exemplify the beauty of not only that relationship, but also these things, you know what they call them in the teams? They call them meat missiles. And because they would just, instead of them going and clearing, these crazy urban environments in Iraq or Afghanistan or wherever, they take the dog off, and the dog just, goes and hunts these poor people down. These bad guys, so to hell with them, but just goes at them, and they launch in the air, and they'll go like 30 feet in the air. And then when they grab, it's the end. And it's just, I think it's one of the coolest aspects of any unit that uses dogs. It's just, I have such a huge spot in my heart for not only the dogs, but the handlers as well, too.
If people are listening to this and they're thinking, man, I really want to hear more from this guy, how can they find you and tee it up for what you got coming up?
I appreciate that, Clay. Thank you so much, man. You can find me on all major platforms at the David Rutherford Show. Of course, iHeart. Find me there. Go to their app. Can download me there. Also on YouTube. I'm on X. My personal accounts on X or on Instagram are at Team Frog Logic. That's the motivational training that I teach the professional athletes and business people and college athletes as well. But yeah, David Rutherford Show, you can find it everywhere. I appreciate that, Chad.
Before we let Mr. Navy SEAL and motivational speaker and exceptional podcast host go, I think we have to add fashion trendsetter to his resume, because I think you are bringing back the Kurt Russell haircut from Big Trouble in Little China, like single-handedly right now. If you are going full Jack Burton. I respect it. And I think the Jack Burton, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, but many of you have, I think the Jack Burton is going to make a comeback. And Rut, you're going to be on the forefront of this, my friend. You know, the flowing locks down at the back, business up front.
Dude, it's so funny. I'm glad you bet. I just got called that name. Someone called me. I usually get Kurt Russell a lot and some of these other ones. But like, if you remember a year ago, I had a shaved head and a mustache, and I came back off a show one time, and my wife and kids looked at me and they're like, no way. And my oldest daughter, who just left for college, she's like, please grow it back. Please grow it back. So thank you so much for acknowledging my coif. I'm going for that mixed 70s, 80 flow, that Farrah Fawcett flow with the badass of Big Trouble in Little China, man.
Great. By the way, a great throwback flick. I think the most underrated Kurt Russell movie in many ways. So
hands down, that and The Thing.
Yeah, phenomenal. All right, go check out the Dave Rutherford Show, everybody. Rut, have a great weekend. Give your kids big hugs. College, no college. Give them big hugs.
Same. And Clay, have fun, man. Make every second of it count. Tell them you love them.
Will do, brother. I appreciate it. I don't know how it's going to go. I've never dropped a kid off at college before. So we'll see. I'll know tomorrow afternoon about this time. Look, we've got to introduce you to Good Ranchers. Awesome company. Found a way to get your family connected with America's ranchers and farmers. Raising healthy livestock makes for delicious steaks, burgers, chicken, pork. You're going to love it all. Ben and his wife, Corley, we were just talking about Rut dropping off his daughter at college. They've got 4 young kids, not college age yet, but one of the reasons they wanted to found this company was to be able to give healthy food to their family. It's all right here from inside of the United States. You know this? 85% of the beef and pork in the supermarket grown and raised outside the United States. That's a crazy stat. If you want to be able to have American-raised beef, American products in your house that are spectacularly good to eat, and they're specially delivered dry ice overnight, keep the meat perfectly frozen, you need to check them out. We love this. My kids love it. You're going to get hooked up right now with $50 off your first order. All you have to do is go to goodranchers.com, use my name Clay as the promo code at checkout for $50 off anything on the site. Remember, that's my name, Clay, C-L-A-Y, goodranchers.com, code Clay. That's goodranchers.com, code Clay. American meat delivered. Good Ranchers.
Well, Clay, it looks like we've developed an international audience. We did an interview with J.D. Vance, the vice president, and over at the BBC, where I think all the presenters have to talk like this, they train them to speak this way. They pulled a clip from the Clay and Buck Show. They sound like ruffians, don't they? They sound like naughty, naughty boys. But here they are, the BBC, talking about our show over in jolly England. Play it.
J.D. Vance says economic pressure is the best way for Washington to, as he put it, ultimately accomplish the final objective. The Vice President was speaking on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show.
We're kind of now in a new phase where the most effective tool that we have is the economic pressure that we can apply to them. And this is a delicate dance because we apply economic pressure to them. They're going to try to apply economic pressure to us. But what has been true over the last couple of weeks is they felt a lot more pressure than we have. We're going to keep that going because we think that's the best way to ultimately accomplish the final objective here.
Okay, so I'm going to just say, I think your British accent, Buck, was better than the British accent of the guy that actually, no offense to the Brit over there, but I think you would be better as a BBC presenter of this program in your fake British accent than he was in his actual British accent.
You're very kind, sir. Thank you. I'll take it.
All right, let's get to some calls here to close up the Friday edition of the program. Leanne in San Diego, what you got for us?
Hi, you guys. I love you. I listen to you every day from the insane state of California.
Thank you.
So I'm calling in because the show Friends, years ago, they had an episode where Ross and Rachel's baby daughter had a 1-year birthday party. So Joey forgot to bring her a gift, and he did a dramatic reading of Love You Forever.
We need to get that. I did not know that.
Everyone was bawling.
That's great. That's a really funny. Thank you for calling in. We love you too. That's a really funny conceit. I had no. I was a Seinfeld guy. To be fair, I never really was a Friends person. I mean, I have obviously seen the show, but I'm not. I don't know its episodes.
We have the cut.
We have
a cut.
Oh, let's
32.
play it.
A mother held her new baby and very slowly rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she held him, she sang, "I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living. My baby, you'll be." And while he rocked her, he sang, "I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living. My baby, you'll be."
I'm getting a little misty right now, just thinking back to it.
That was amazing.
Thank you so much for that gift.
Everybody losing it on Friends. That's great. Thank you, Leanne. For I had no idea that scene existed, but I'm glad, based on all your responses, to know that so many of you also feel the same way about that as I do. This has been an awesome week, Buck. I'll let you tell everybody goodbye, and we'll see them on Monday.
I'm going to go hang out with baby Speed. It's going to be a great weekend. Clay's going to hang out with his boys, and we're going to see you all Monday for, honestly, just the best show that you could possibly hang with. So talk to you then.